Lily had never believed she was poor. At least, she had never used that word about herself. She knew they didn't have much money. She knew other girls at school had phones that cost more than everything inside their apartment. She knew some classmates went on vacations while she spent summers working at a small neighborhood bakery. She knew her winter coat had been passed down from her older cousin and that the zipper sometimes got stuck. But Lily believed being poor meant having nothing to give. And she had always found something to give. Sometimes it was half of her sandwich. Sometimes it was her seat on the bus. Sometimes it was a few minutes of her time to help an elderly neighbor carry groceries upstairs. Her mother, Maria, had taught her that. Maria had raised Lily alone since Lily was 6 years old. Lily's father had left after a series of financial problems, promising he would return when he found work. He never did. Maria worked as a cleaner in an office building during the day and occasionally took evening shifts at a hotel. Her hands were rough from years of cleaning chemicals, and there were nights when she came home so tired that she fell asleep sitting at the kitchen table. Still, whenever Lily asked if they were going to be okay, Maria always smiled. "We have each other," she would say. And somehow, those 4 words made everything feel less frightening. Their apartment was small, located above an old laundromat in a neighborhood where the buildings were aging, but the people still knew each other's names. Their heating system broke more often than it worked. The kitchen window had a crack running through one corner, and the living room sofa had been repaired with tape so many times that Lily joked it had become part of the furniture's design. But it was home. On the morning of the day, everything changed. Lily woke before her alarm. She could hear rain hitting the window. She pulled the blanket closer around herself and looked at the ceiling. "Great," she whispered. She had an important school presentation that morning. She had spent 2 weeks preparing it. Her teacher had told the class that the student with the best presentation would receive a scholarship recommendation for a summer academic program. Lily desperately wanted that opportunity. She dreamed of becoming a teacher someday, perhaps because she knew how much one caring teacher could change a child's life. She got dressed quickly, brushed her hair, and carefully put on her best clothes. Then she looked at her shoes. They were old black flats. The left shoe had a small tear near the heel. The right sole was thin enough that Lily could feel the cold pavement through it when she walked. She had asked her mother about replacing them several weeks earlier. Maria had promised they would try, but rent had gone up. The electricity bill was overdue, and Maria's hours at work had recently been reduced. So the shoes stayed. Lily slipped them on and walked into the kitchen. Her mother was standing beside the stove. "You're up early," Maria said. "I have my presentation today." Maria turned around and smiled. "I remember." She placed a small plate of toast on the table. "Eat. I'm not hungry." That's what people say when they're nervous. Lily laughed. "You know me too well." Maria sat beside her. "You'll do great. What if I mess up? Then you'll learn something. What if I embarrass myself? Then you'll survive. What if everyone laughs?" Maria reached across the table and held her daughter's hand. "Then you look at me when you come home, and I'll still be proud of you." Lily smiled. She didn't know it yet, but those words would become important later. Very important. After breakfast, Lily kissed her mother goodbye and hurried toward the train station. The rain had become heavier. By the time she reached the station, the bottom of her jeans was soaked. She bought the cheapest ticket and waited beneath the awning. That was when she saw him. He was sitting near the entrance. At first, Lily assumed he was homeless. He wore a dark gray coat that looked expensive but completely soaked. His hair was wet and disheveled. One sleeve of his coat was torn, but it was his feet that made Lily stop. He wasn't wearing shoes. His bare feet were red from the cold. There was a small cut on one heel. He looked exhausted. People passed him without even looking. A businessman stepped around him. A woman pulled her child closer. 2 teenagers laughed as they walked by. Lily stared. She looked down at her own shoes, then back at the man. She hesitated. She was already late. Her presentation was important. Her shoes were all she had. She could not afford another pair. She walked several steps away, then stopped. She turned around. The stranger was still sitting there. Lily walked back. "Sir." The man lifted his head. "Are you okay?" He looked surprised that someone had spoken to him. "I'm Fina." "You don't look fine." A faint smile appeared on his face. That's probably because I'm not. Lily glanced at his feet. Where are your shoes? The man looked down. Long story. Do you need help? I need many things, he said almost jokingly. Lily reached in her backpack and found a small package of tissues. She handed them to him. He accepted them. Thank you. Lily stood there awkwardly. Then she looked at her shoes again. The decision seemed impossible, but somehow her heart had already made it. She sat down. She removed her left shoe, then her right. The man immediately shook his head. No. Lily placed them beside him. Take them. I can't. You can. You'll need them. I have socks. He looked at her bare feet. Lily, you'll freeze. She froze. You know my name? He pointed toward her backpack. Her name was written on a small school tag. Oh, he almost laughed. You're giving away your shoes to a stranger. Yes. Why? Lily shrugged. Because you need them more. He stared at her. What's your name? Lily. Lily, he repeated softly. Then he looked at the shoes. They're your only pair, aren't they? She didn't answer. That was enough. The man pushed them toward her. I can't take these. Lily pushed them back. My mother says if you can help someone, you should. Your mother must be a good woman. She is. And she's going to be angry when she finds out you gave away your shoes. Lily smiled. Probably. Then she stood. Her feet immediately touched the freezing concrete. She winced but forced herself not to show it. Please take them. The stranger looked at her for a long moment. Then he slowly put them on. They were too small, but they were better than nothing. He looked down at them, then up at Lily. Thank you. She smiled. You're welcome. She turned and began walking. After a few steps, she heard him call her name. Lily. She turned around. The man was still sitting there. Someday, he said, I'll repay you. Lily shook her head. You don't have to. Then she disappeared into the crowd. She never looked back. She didn't know that the man watched her until she was completely gone. She didn't know that he took out his phone. She didn't know that he made a call. And she certainly didn't know that his real name was Daniel Brooks. Daniel Brooks was the founder and CEO of Brooks Industries, one of the largest construction companies in the city. He owned several properties. He had more money than he could spend in 10 lifetimes. And yet, that morning, he had been sitting barefoot outside the station because something had gone terribly wrong. Daniel had been traveling to meet his younger brother, Thomas, after discovering that Thomas had been secretly stealing money from the company. The confrontation had become ugly. Thomas had accused Daniel of destroying the family. Daniel had accused Thomas of betrayal. The argument ended with Daniel leaving the car in anger. He had walked for nearly an hour through the rain. Then, a speeding vehicle passed him, splashing water onto the sidewalk. His bag slipped from his hand. His wallet and phone fell into a storm drain. When he tried to retrieve them, his expensive shoes were swept away by rushing water. He had no cash, no phone, no identification, no way to contact anyone. For the first time in decades, Daniel Brooks was completely dependent on the kindness of strangers. And almost everyone ignored him. Until Lily. Daniel didn't know why her kindness affected him so deeply. Maybe it was because she had so little. Maybe it was because she gave without asking who he was. Or maybe it was because she reminded him of the person he used to be before money had changed his life. Daniel had grown up poor. His mother had worked 2 jobs. His father had died when Daniel was 12. There had been nights when they ate nothing but soup. His mother used to tell him, never become so successful that you forget what hunger feels like. Daniel had remembered those words for years. But somewhere along the way, he had become distracted. Money, business, reputation, power. He had built a company. He had bought houses. He had traveled the world. But he had forgotten what it felt like to need someone. Until a teenage girl gave him her shoes. Lily arrived at school 20 minutes late. Her feet were numb. Her socks were soaked. The moment she entered the classroom, several students stared. What happened to your shoes? One girl asked. Lily ignored her. She walked to her desk. Her teacher noticed immediately. Lily, are you all right? Yes. Where are your shoes? I gave them to someone. The classroom became quiet. You gave them away? Lily nodded. Her teacher looked confused, but said nothing. Are you still prepared for your presentation? Lily took a deep breath. Yes. She walked to the front of the room. Her hands trembled, but she began. Her presentation was about